Okay, that looks right, I think. Just for the record, this is so far the best I've come up with for that light stand. Follow us on Lighthouse Labs, hashtag going forward. That's what we're here. See if you can think. It's happy holidays. I think someone just came up, so see if you can do better. Okay, so I breached the letter of the law in the sense of curriculum because I started looking at Heroku about 4 weeks in, maybe 3 weeks in, and Git the first day, or maybe it was the second day. I think it was the first day. So a lot of this stuff is kind of like the stuff that we leave to the last minute, and that's a mistake. Yes, thank you. So at least they managed to get in. Can someone keep Slack up? Just because you would hate to be stuck outside. It's absolutely terrible out there. Yeah, but we did some of the deployment stuff. And I mean, just, as a professional, this is, I think, the best approach. I mean, you don't just jump into that, but, the further you go, you really start needing to consider how you're going to bring your product to market. And you have to understand that technology to a certain degree. So today, it is going to be JavaScript focused. And it's you're going to see how I actually do it day to day. We've already done the Heroku, so we're going to skip over this. We don't get to do testing and Q&A at all, so this is kind of the next thing. Assuming that Lighthouse keeps asking me back to do this, I will be injecting testing early on in the course. This is something I'm very passionate about. If you want to be a professional, I think you need to know how to test before you even write the code. Talk about where your next steps are. I mean, are you interested? Are you entrepreneurial? Are you a writer? What do you do? What do you do with what you know now? I'll show you a little bit about what I'm doing. And then, if you like, you have the opportunity to finish up our app. It is my understanding that Jen is taking us to the pub. Given the weather, I wouldn't blame if you just kind of went home, but I will be there, assuming she's able to come. But we will stay here as long as necessary if that is your priority. Absolutely, we will finish your app and get it onto Heroku. So, JavaScript demo. This stuff's kind of a waste of time. Maybe we should just jump to the demo. No, let's save this to last. What can I say about it just to get you excited about JavaScript? Remember the 3 core technologies, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. It is truly the language of the web, and it's very versatile. It's very expressive, and in some ways, it's kind of a nightmare. I mean, of course, everything's opinion, but it's like JavaScript's like the English language of programming languages, where it's just like this bastard hybrid that just somehow all works together. JavaScript's kind of like that. Okay, so yeah, Heroku deploy. You've seen this. Again, happy to talk about this at length. Like maybe this has crossed your mind, right? Like what's going to happen next? This is kind of the last point of discussion, but talking about it now, like do you have something? How are you going to get it onto yourdomain.com? That's like something you really need to consider, and I think that's a really big barrier to even hobbyists. If you want to do it like a professional, you need to know a lot of the stuff we just can't even show you in 6 weeks. So I just got to make sure. Sorry, that was Facebook and not Slack. But yeah, another thing. So if that is a question, I'm feeding you questions. What do you want to do next? Testing. This is, yeah. You know how you've been writing Finstagram, and if you need to see something work, you open up the browser, type in your password, for example, type in your email, press go, and see if it works. That's testing. And that's got to be the dumbest way to do it. We automate testing, right? If you're not testing your code, you are wasting time and money. I heard and no one here knows who I'm talking about, so I'm going to be maybe a little bit more forward than I think, but I'm a big fan of these people making a big effort, sort of, tangentially involved in seeing what they're doing in their business. And I've asked them 3 times now, you started unit testing? They say no. And last time the guy said, he says, half our time is taken up by testing. We don't have time to write tests. And it's just right there, right? If that's like that, not that, he's totally sincere. We don't have time to write tests because half of our time is taken up by testing manually with the mouse and the keyboard. So you see, I'm very passionate about this. This, if you want to be a professional, learn how to unit test first, and then let the user drive your behavior. Construct your interface, write automated tests that fill out that form, press that button, and then even check the database and check to see that what is displayed on the screen is exactly what you expect. That is behavioral testing. So 2 very important concepts. Test-driven development as a whole. It's kind of an all-encompassing term. Unit testing, testing methods at the object level, testing classes, testing database models, behavioral-driven testing, testing the browser interface. These 2 things come together and make software that works. Just as an aside example, I've got the very practical problem of keeping business receipts. My wife and I import baby shoes from Europe. We've got all these receipts. So I just wrote some software. This is actually, I think, our business partner's account here. But it just tracks this stuff. And this is all fully tested. Every move you make in here is accounted for as part of unit tests. Whoops. So we just track receipts just like that. User password. We sold a buttload of shoes at this Christmas market, and we're running out of shoes. So if any of you people are crafty, we've got table space. So a glimpse into my life, right? So I'm selling baby shoes, hawking them, peddling my wares at the local farmers market, but I'm writing software that tracks this, reads the receipt, and calculates your tax return or dividend disbursements to your business partners on the fly. Fully unit tested, redundantly. And it would not work without those. If you want to do something like that, something of that complexity, you have to be able to just say go. You can't have a whole team of 50 engineers following a script like this and then reporting back to whoever's overseeing this. This is how you used to do this. This is the traditional approach. I've got to get off this topic because I just start getting, and I see Jen, she's seen me doing this before, and I just start getting hyped because it makes me so angry. And it's the year 2016, and I'm an apologist for unit testing. It's absolutely, okay, damn, here we go. Like, I'm the guy who's crazy about unit testing. All right, next steps. Okay, so some of these questions. Do you want to be a developer? Or are you an artist and you just have the modest goal of selling your artwork online, right? Promoting farmers markets, whatever venue you're getting. Does anyone want to share some interest? And let's talk about the feasibility and what you actually need to do. Maybe I should do a demo, and you guys just think about it, right? It's a great opportunity, and I think people, Jen's here. We still on?
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
But no rush.
I want to make an in-browser synthesizer drum machine.
In browser.
I've seen it done, but I have no idea how to do it.
Now you're talking about desktop browser?
Yep.
And you want to interface with this with a mouse?
Yep.
So you want to compose rhythms?
Yep.
I'm sorry, I'm not a musician, so if I get the lingo wrong.
Yep.
But you don't need to have that like.
No, you can click it on.
Right, so you make like a MIDI file or something.
Yep.
That is a fantastic idea. Without knowing the industry, let's talk. Do you have a card?
No.
I think I might have a card.
No.
Okay, so that's pub time, right?
Yep.
See you at the pub.
Yeah, sounds good.
And anyone else? Let's get to the pub, so let's do a demo. Let's do this, yada, yada, yada. Okay, we do have another set of slides if you guys are still interested. They're very verbose. But I'm just going to, again, give you a little bit of a glimpse into what I do and how I do it. So I've got 4 children. My oldest is now 7. So it was about a year and a half ago that she really started to read. And so I wanted to write a story that she could read at her like kind of like 5th or age 5, 6, grade 1 level. It was about owls. And now I've been terrifying my 2 oldest about owls since they were babies. And so my 2 oldest are terrified of the owl. My 2 youngest, they're just not, we as a family, we spot owls, like the Max owl on the sign, Christmas tree ornaments, or things on corporate logos everywhere. It's not that we love owls. It's just that it's been so part of our life. So I wrote this story and we started reading it to our friends and, their children. And so it was just first at family, and the family kind of gets it, right? Because, it's about my children, it's about our family. And then we started reading it to a broader audience. And these children seem to like it too. They know my children. They don't know my children so well. So I want to make this look like a book with my story and just, maybe have some sort of tactile response kind of thing. Like this is a little bit ways off, but it'd be great if like my children could hold their grandma, because their grandma lets them play with the phone, and go like this and turn the pages and make it look like a book. Just something for my kids. And we're thinking it's a good story. Might need a couple of illustrations. So when I was making a demo, this is what I was doing today in preparation for this class. First, a little bit of background. This is a Chromebook. Retails for about $275. You can't develop as a traditional develop on a device like this. This is kind of like an amped up cell phone in a way, right? Very inexpensive, very easy to replace, and it's a browser. So if I want to do any sort of development work, I need to look into a server off-site. So I own a whole bunch of different cloud resources. I access them strictly through the command line. So I don't have the benefit of the Cloud9 IDE. With the Chromebook, you have this program here. It's a secure shell program, SSH. I'm actually not sure. You can just get it off the Chrome market, right? You go to, not like Android, but like apps for your browser. You can get this off. This is a Chrome browser, Chrome operating system. I can log into any one of my many servers and interface through this device, which otherwise would not be able. So I go to Choco Buttons. This is kind of my development machine. Whenever I want to do some experimenting. I've got a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm going to just give you a sense. It's a mess, right? The thing is, like, what I do is I can just reset my machine anytime I want, just start fresh. Nothing's happened that's terrible, so I just let all the debris build. Not exactly a good thing. But let's, set up our environment here. So I'm going to say make dir w6d2. I hope you can all see that. And then go into my fresh empty directory, w6d2. So now I've got my own Git server running on another virtual machine. This is when I back up, I keep the data at home. It's great to have stuff in the cloud, but stuff happens and you should still lose it, right? You got to have redundant data. So I'm going to make a clone from Git. Let's see if I can remember what it's called now. Hopefully I get this right. Git clone git at libertyseeds.ca/opt/git/don't forget to check for owls.git. So I'm setting this up. Think about it, if you write a book, you don't want to be always marking it up with HTML, right? Because at some point you want to put it on the web, you're going to have to mark it up. So I just made this clone off of my private repository. There it is. Don't forget to check for owls. First thing I do when I download a project, I read the documentation. Reading. So I tell myself how to set this up. Don't forget to check for owls. Typesetting this book is a two-step process. Convert this file, which is the actual story, into HTML. So I use a different markup language. It's actually called Markdown. Makes it easy to be more of a creative writer than a programmer. But once I have that, and once I have that bare bones HTML, I typeset it. And it gives it kind of like, the smart quotes. It'll break it along a paragraph so that it puts a hyphen and goes on to the next line. That's what that does. So I've got a two-step process. How do I install it? Okay. If you were to do this, the information would be here. This is how you set up your environment. Install typeset.js and install Markdown. I want to actually make this conversion. So let's take a look and see what I have right now. This is my project directory. What's going on here? There we go. Here's my project directory. I've got this this program that I'm just kind of saving. This is what actually changes it from Markdown to HTML. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Then I've got my basic CSS styles, a few things I've customized, trying to make it look like it so it's not perfect. So, forgive me when you see it. And I've got this actual story here. And you'll kind of see it, it's like, it's got all this red and it's got this white. It's got some, this stuff. This is Markdown. And I know you've seen it before because it's always how we do our GitHub readmes. This is also Markdown. If you go to GitHub and you see documentation, so let's go to, let's just go to my Cloud9 Sinatra setup repository. This README, all these instructions are written in Markdown. So you can see it's very, it's not invasive. It doesn't distract you from what you're doing. And it's very easy. You don't have to write a story and insert it or, conform it to HTML at the same time. What this actually looks like is this. readme.md.markdown. Oops, I want to see the raw. Sorry, let's see that. Right, so it kind of looks like what I just showed you. Here's one of those headers. These certain symbols have certain, they render a certain way. These are headers, more headers. This is a code sample. Let's just take a look at what this actually looks like. So here's our hello world. It's been italicized. Here's that code sample, right? A lot easier, and it's a lot nicer to write a story because you don't have to, do angle bracket p tag, angle bracket p tag, and do this all over to separate them into divs. I can just do the Markdown thing, and you barely notice it's there. I could just copy and paste it into an email. You'd be able to read it without a browser or anything. That's the intention of Markdown. Problem is, this is what it looks like on the internet. I'm just going to start up another server. Here, actually, I should show you this. So I've got a separate window open on my other screen here. Hang on. And I'm going to be looking at the same thing. So I'm just logged on to the same computer. I've got two windows into that environment. I say CD, okay, no, it wasn't other workspace. It was w6d2. Don't forget to check for owls. Whenever I want to just start up a simple HTTP server, I use a Python program. And for a lot of you Mac people, you probably have this installed. You should be able to do this. And if you're curious, fire it up right now. But I can use the Python programming language to start a simple HTTP server. And wherever you run this program, it's just going to start serving it up to the internet. You can just come along, hit the IP address, and take a look. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing right now. So serving HTTP on, well, this 000, this means something different, but this is the machine's IP address. I want to actually look at what's happening here. I find out this way. So I'm just going to temporarily go back here. So actually, I'm going to put this away. We don't need to see that anymore. So here I am Sorry, I totally lost my train. Oh yes, that's what it was. I got to find the IP address. So I don't like, I can't at this point go to chocobuttons.com and set it up. I just need to find ifconfig. I've got a whole bunch of open IPs, but this is the one I want, this ETH0. This is where I'm broadcasting to the internet. You hit this IP, you're going to see what's in this directory, or you should at least. So let's come back to here. Oh, one more thing I should mention. This is also broadcasting on port 8000. So that IP address that I just copied, and this port, this is where my server is listening. It's listening for requests, listening for gets and posts and puts and deletes and all that kind of stuff. It's just listening right there. So let's take it, let's open up a browser. And I've got the IP already memorized there, but it's actually at port 8000. This should show me what's inside that directory. Right? I don't have a web page yet even. There we go. Okay. And here's my story. Oh, excuse me, it downloaded. I was expecting it to actually open up so you can see it. Nowhere in here, though, is there an index.html. In fact, there's no HTML at all. So let's dip back over here and take a look at what we've got. So we don't really need to see the story. We know it's there. We know it's marked down. We can bring it back if we like. But I want to change it. So I'm looking at my own documentation. It's very important even to document your own code. I know I can convert Markdown to HTML by executing this Perl command. So I'm going to grab that, drop into my command line, paste it. There's that mysterious Markdown directory. It's got a Perl script. You see where my cursor is highlighting PL. Perl, made by like a legendary computer scientist named Larry Page. It says, give me this bookmd file, this markdown file that the web browser doesn't know what to do with. I mean, it really doesn't know what to do with it. It downloaded it, right? That doesn't make any sense. But take that thing, process it, and put it in this file called plain.html. Hit enter. I know it worked because nothing happened. Now I've got plain.html. So let's see what my story looks like. I can just refresh this, and now I've got that plain.html. Okay, don't forget to check for owls. Chapter 1. Don't forget to check for owls, Daddy called down the stairs. A little peek into our lives. Right? Always forever battling them to clean the basement. I got to mark this up, right? I want it to look like a book. I want children to look at this, nice big font, make it easy to read. First thing I should probably do, with that in mind, set it up so I'm always looking at mobile first. Always develop mobile first. Save yourself some hassle. Okay, so coming back to my development environment over here, you see this is the GET request. That's that Python server. I've made a few requests. I tried to look at that MD book, and then I just requested that plain HTML. So this should be all familiar to you, right? You've been working with this for 2-3 weeks now. So that's my server output. Here's where I'm doing all my work. Let's go back, take a look at this thing. Okay, so I want to style this up. I want to make it so that paragraphs will wrap. And then if you have like a long word, then it's going to be able to find a place to hyphen it so that it goes around like a real book. The browser doesn't really do this. You got to play some other tricks. I use this typeset command, and I will execute that here. So the same idea. Whoops, what happened here? Well, before I figure it out, here's the command I just, executed. I'm looking for a program called typeset.js. So this is, again, free software. Never pay for anything. If you're paying for something, you're doing something wrong. But once I install it, that's the step I skipped. I'm going to look at that plain.html file that I just showed you, right? We just looked at it on the browser. We just created it. We ran that separate program. and I'm going to send it to typeset.html. Oh, brutal. Okay, I know how to fix that. Sorry. I just realized I made a really silly mistake. But yeah, we'll get to that when we get to that. This is me not reading the directions. I forgot to install my stuff. And I kind of skipped over it because this one I've already installed and I don't want to just wget and unzip every single time. But I forgot to install this typeset.js. This is what's going to give it those nice curly quotations and break the lines. So to install this stuff, I use npm install. This is like bundle install in the Ruby world, except this is the JavaScript world, and specifically server-side JavaScript. So npm install, like you had your gem file, looks in something called package.json. So all these like package managers, they have like, similar concepts. I wish we could see that better. It's actually don't know how to change the color on Vim. That's a little bit embarrassing. It's never been an issue before. But just like the gem file, oh shoot, maybe it's not in this one. Where'd it go? Where did I put it? Uh-oh. Hang on, let's try this. npm install. What? Okay, hang on. That's really weird. All right, okay, so this is how we can install it. npm install typeset. Typeset. And we'll save it, just like that. Okay, I think that's what I forgot to do, right? This is like I installed some software, but I didn't add it to my gem file. You can do that, and that's kind of what happened here. I created one of these gem files, but I forgot to save it when I installed. So this is installing the software I need to convert my HTML to more of a proper typeset format. All right, see what my Git looks like. And this is a great real world example. So I made a critical project update. This is the time I would make a commit. So I'm going to do that now. So you git diff. So that's that package.json file I was just looking at. Now I've got some dependencies. I've got a typeset dependency here. So that's the software I just installed. So I'm going to say git commit -am add type set dependency, just like that. And I like to push right away too. So now it's away, it's good to go. Let's take a look at my documentation again. I have to style this stuff, and it's going to be really subtle, and you're not going to fully appreciate it, but just trust me that this does make a significant difference. So here's what I tried to execute before, and I wasn't able to execute it because I had not added it as a dependency. So finding the program, it's just called typeset-js, takes that plain.html, spits out typeset.html, the exact same file, except stylized. Basic HTML styles. So this one takes a little bit more work. It's going. I say LL, and there it is. Typeset.html. This did not exist before, and I can confirm that. Or no, I guess I can't confirm that anymore. Hang on. Let's grab this. Well, I was hoping to show you that this wasn't there before, but you're going to just have to trust me. It wasn't there before. So there's typeset.html. Very subtle difference. Let's make this one a little bit bigger. See if you can spot the difference. That's typeset. That's not typeset. Typeset, not typeset. Biggest differences, aside from like a little bit of boldness, are these smart quotes. That's one of them. That goes out through the entire document. Some of the styles, so it's still there's no CSS. There's nothing. This is just HTML stuff. But here's something that you wouldn't be able to do without it. You see this one right here. Yes, Malachi, Eva replied. There aren't any owls in the basement. Without this typesetting, this would not split into two words. Like, I'm not a typesetter. The only thing that about this that interests me is because, I mean, I've never tried to do it before, so this is my first time. Pretty good. This is the kind of benefit that you get by processing it in this way. And it's just ordinary HTML. All the different paragraphs, the contents of the stories, all that stuff. Okay, so moving forward here, what I'm missing, and this is what I kind of played with this afternoon. So this was a bit of a learning experience. But I've got, what was I looking for here? My node modules, here's my markdown program, styles. Oh yeah, I need an index.html, and this is actually something I forgot to commit. So I'm just going to cheat and copy it over just to save us some time. I'm going to say copy from the home directory. It's hard to see, but that's a squiggle. That's that tilde up the top left-hand corner just underneath the escape key, called a tilde. That means your home directory in Linux. So from the home directory, go into other workspaces, go to, don't forget to check for owls, and find me index.html. I'm just making a copy. CP source to destination. Now I've got an index.html. So I just copied it from my other project. And I made a really silly error when I forgot to commit this, or prevented myself from committing this. I'm afraid it's rather embarrassing. So, but this is what okay, now the reason why I did this, actually. Let's take a look at typeset.html. So this is the very top of the document. Maybe this is hard to see. I don't know if I can make this one bigger. Right, there's no HTML outer tag, and there's no head tag. There's no body tag. I want all that stuff. But I also want to be able to change my story and be able to reprocess this thing. And I don't want to have to do something silly like copy and paste the top part of the document and then copy and paste the bottom part of the document. Like, I wouldn't be a professional if I resorted to that kind of like manual labor. You need to be lazy. And this is the laziest way to do it. So I want to just take this and I want to sandwich it inside of a bigger HTML document, which looks like this. I've never done this before. Now you guys are thinking this, you're crazy, right? We were doing this with layouts, the layout view. Why can't you make a layout index.html and just stick whatever HTML you want inside of it? Turns out you can. Turns out I've never done this before, and it's actually a lot trickier than you think. So this is what I did. This is my HTML. Let's just pretend that this doesn't exist for right now. I'm going to take all this stuff out because there's a lot of clutter, and that's going to be your introduction to JavaScript, or at least client-side JavaScript. But this is all the stuff I don't have. Don't have a title. Don't have any way to include style sheets. I don't have any way to set the viewport because I want it to look different on a tablet or on a cell phone or on a laptop. But here's that skeleton. If this was a layout.erb, you would see this. You would see something like this. This is just an ordinary website, right? This isn't Ruby. We can't do this. So to do this, we have to use this link tag. And this was an education for me. I confess, I've never done this before today. And what I learned is that import is a valid value for the rel attribute. So that typeset, I can load it in right here, just like this. I want to show you why this is significant before we actually do that. So this is what we're currently looking at. This is typeset.html. And this is the thing that really bothers me. It's like I have to be able to load styles, and it's giving me a head like up here. It's giving me this HTML tag. It's not allowing me any sort of customization. Far better for me just to take all this stuff and stick it into the index.html. So let's see what that looks like right now. So if I come back to here, we'll use this one as an example. Hopefully this works. Index, okay, it's nothing. Of course it's nothing, right? But I've got all the stuff I need. This side has the head. It's got the title. Don't forget to check for owls. It's got the link. It's got this. And it's just over here. It's calling to that other document. It's calling to typeset.html. Come jump in at this spot and fill in this gap. To do this, you need JavaScript. You can't do it in plain HTML. So let's take a look at that. And I don't want to go too far afield here. That's going to look pretty complicated to you guys, right? I'm guessing most of you have never seen anything like that before. Follows the basic same rules. I mean, no, there's obvious differences between this and Ruby, but it's the same basic stuff. And this is what executes in the browser. The browser has its own like little interpreter in there. Just like when you're on Cloud9, you type in ruby.hello.rb, that's an interpreter. And the client, every single browser, has one of these JavaScript interpreters inside it. It's a very powerful language, and you can do really, really great things. So I'm going to comment most of this stuff out, though, just to give us a very basic sense of what is happening here. Anything you put between these script tags, by the way, I don't think we've actually shown you the script tag, but you can load any script. It doesn't actually have to be JavaScript, but if you use this empty script tag and start programming in JavaScript, it will execute it as it stands, until it reaches the end of the script tag. So that's the entire Java component of this. And we're going to add a little bit at a time just to see how this kind of evolved. Okay. So using JavaScript, you can find out a lot of different stuff about your client, your browser, your settings on Chrome, right? How big is the viewport? All this kind of stuff. Now, again, I'm not a typesetter. I'm just trying to figure this stuff out. So I'm trying to perform these calculations on the fly. One of the biggest things I need to know is the height of the viewport. If it's wider, I want a narrower piece of paper, right? If it's tall and skinny, like on a cell phone, I can go right up to the edge of the margins. So it's very, very valuable to know the height. So I'm just going to output that to screen. And, I'll simplify this a little bit. These // this is like the hashtag in Ruby, right? Anything that follows a // it's a comment. The interpreter skips over it. So all this is going to do is it's going to say, give me the window object. It's like one of those magical params or sessions objects. Give me this object and tell me how big it is. What's the height of this thing? So to see this execute, come back to my browser, because the browser is going to do it for me, and I go to the console. That's why I said console.log. Show me what is in the viewport height. 668. It's telling me that the usable area from this, this is supposed to be, the menu bar and that little black strip. That's not actual viewable screen. So it's telling me from here to here, that's how much space I got to work with. Okay, let's take a look at some of the other stuff. Let's say this guy here. We don't do a lot of this kind of sophisticated stuff, but this is saying to the browser, I want you to find the HTML element or an HTML element called link. And I want you to find the one that has this attribute set to import. So the browser takes this request from JavaScript, looks up in what's called the document object model, and it finds it right here. This is it here. Here's the link element, and here's that one with the attribute rel set to the value import. Just for kicks, let's see what, this one's not going to be quite so informative, but I just want to see what it looks like. So I'm just going to spit it out to screen just like I would if I was saying puts in Ruby. Big difference here, of course, is that it's putsing or logging to the console. So, oh, there it is. Look at that. It's taken that and it's got this typeset.html. So this made a whole separate request. It said, give me the index file. But as part of the index file, it said, give me the typeset.html. And inside of there, it's got its own little document object model, complete with its HTML tags, its head, it's empty, and don't forget to check for owls. So we're getting closer, right? Here's the content. We've got the content. We got it all on the same page, but we can't see it. This is like, it's mind-blowing that HTML doesn't have a way that's built in, like innate to itself. We still depend on JavaScript. So let's fix that. Sorry, I'm so used to using Cloud9 when I'm with you guys. I forgot that I'm in my native environment here. Okay. So all I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, give me this link. That's what I was just looking at, right? It's got that document inside. It's got the entire story. I want you to import all that information from the body tag. Give me everything that's inside the body tag. Let's see what it looks like. On the console, this is going to refresh. When I hit refresh, there's the body tag. So this is the story itself. I don't want like two body tags. So this is really bad form. So I've somehow got to look at each one of these elements, each one of these child elements, and add it one at a time. The added advantage of this is I can divide it into sections. I won't spend too much time on that. It's mostly just arithmetic, but I'll stop at places that seem kind of more appropriate. So we got the book wrapped in the body tag. We've got this container, right? When you see something like document or you see window, these are just values. They're JavaScript objects that just exist. They're part of the browser. And you can use JavaScript to find out information about the browser. Sorry, I said document was about the browser. No, document is actually about the structured data that the browser receives, your HTML document. So you can ask the document, okay, show me this, get me that element, give me this document, the one you're currently looking at. It's it's reflective, or it's like self-reflective. It says, give me the main. That's this guy right here. So we're asking two different documents. We've got this link document. This is what gives me the book. And we've got the document we're actually physically looking at. And it says, okay, give me this mains, because this is where I want to basically take everything between that body tag and plunk it between main. Okay, so we'll leave that one there. And we'll take, what do I want to do? I want to say, I'm just sort of actually just made an on-the-fly decision. I want to say append child, not child, book dot clone node true. I hope I did that right. I actually sort of made a last second slight diversion of course here. I want to show you the problem I was trying to solve, just so you kind of have an understanding of the weird things that can happen. So I've got that book that I've imported. I'm going to clone it, and I'm going to attach it to this main container. If I've done this correctly, in between here is will have the contents of my story. Let's take this. So this is the one I'm looking at. Okay, fingers crossed. Did it work? There it is. Wonderful. Here's the problem I was trying to solve here. There's actually a nice side benefit, something I didn't actually expect initially. But here's that structure. Oh, there it is. See the body, right? Because you looked at the last thing. I'm importing it from some external file. It's kind of hard to shake that body. That was a surprisingly this is where it was a learning experience for me. I've never actually contended with this before. But you see all the stuff inside that body. This to me drives me nuts. Maybe it doesn't matter. I don't know, but it matters to me. So I went to great lengths to get rid of this. This is where I'm going to kind of sort of gloss over it. So this is what I had. Now I want to say, okay, for each new, let's see if I can go without this one. Hang on. See, we'll get to that in a second, I hope. Okay, so for every child node in book, so this is everything that's between the opening body tag and the closing body tag. That's all the good stuff. That's the stuff I want. So I can use a for each. This is, sorry, where's my cursor? I don't know what that sign-in error is. But you see, I'm looking at books. So this is just like, you're looking at your posts and you want to cycle over your comments and display it to the screen. This book has a child node, which consists of headers and paragraphs and the actual contents of the story. So I'm going to look at every single one of those, everything wrapped in a P tag, everything wrapped in a span. There's all sorts of spans. And I do it, that's the exact same construct you use, the each construct in Ruby. So I did a lot of kind of little calculations trying to figure out where the pages, how much I can fit on the screen. Had some success. So let's do that, so for every time I decide I've got enough content, and then I go over and I take that content out and I add it to the next section. This is what's happening here. So I'm looking for line breaks. Every time I get to a new chapter, I want to start on a fresh page. Markdown doesn't let you do that. But I want to make it look like a book. So when I find that, okay, so I'm looking at every single paragraph in my book, and I add it to this new section that I've created. You saw me create the section up here. So this is my document. This is the document I'm looking at, and I say, hey, browser, give me a new element here. I'm going to put it somewhere on the screen. So I've got a section. And each section is going to be one page on the device, be it a tablet, be it a phone. So I append each of those sections. And I think I want to leave that one. Oh, wait. So this is the container is the main. I don't think that's right. No, that is right. Okay, so I do that because I don't know how big this is going to be until the browser actually renders it to the page. So there's a lot of stuff happening on the fly. I'm reading each line, each paragraph, each header, adding it, and testing it. Is this section, is it too long to fit on the screen? This is where it gets tricky. If it is too long, you have to remove that last section, create a new section, and then add that on the next cycle. That's what's happening here in this else. So a lot of different stuff. Whoops. There we go. And then add that final section on when we get right to the end. So, okay, if everything worked okay, we should see some nicer formatting. Oh yeah, so this was my first attempt, and this is how far I got. I tried to give the illusion of a page shadow. Obviously, it's going to look a little bit slicker, and what I think I'm going to do is actually photograph a blank page and set it as the background of the page. But at this point, so I'm trying to divide headers. Every time you see a new header, that's a page all by itself. So here's the title, H1. And this is where I just left it before I came here tonight, was trying to figure out how to get this to fill up with empty space all the way to the bottom, because you can see it's basically right. See chapter 1 filled. See, it's a little bit too big, and I've got to increase the margins, but it goes page after page. Okay, well, chapter 2 starts. This should be like a nice long blank page. These are the challenges with typesetting, and this is how I use JavaScript to do it. Okay, was that like the most boring example you've ever seen? Or is that interesting stuff? It's interesting when you sit down and you start doing it, right? But that's how I approach this project. And this I started from scratch this morning. Well, except for the story. Okay. Now, who still has work to do? Okay. Let's get to that now. And we will get you all set up, and then Jen's anxious to get down to the pub. I'm anxious to get down to the pub. Is Kevin here? He might be locked outside. Can someone let him in? Oh, that too. Okay, let's take as much. Scott and me are going to come around and help you. Let's take as much time as absolutely necessary. Let's you guys get you wrapped up in a place you're happy with.